Yeah, welcome to our Unit Masters live session. We're really lucky and grateful to be here with Yousuf Al Mulla. He's a top venture capitalist and investor and expert, and someone I really look up to, based in Dubai. He runs E11 Capital. It's one of the leading venture firms in the Middle East and in UAE. Investing in innovation and technology companies. Prior to that, he was Chief Strategic Officer at Dubai Holdings. It's one of the leading investment groups in the UAE, and yeah, super excited for him to share his insights and experience today. So we'll start with Yousuf sort of giving an introduction about maybe how he got started, his journey along the way, and then we'll follow up with some questions that we've prepared, sort of supporting his introduction. Then we'll open the big questions to the audience. So if everyone could please put your hands together for Yousuf, please.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you very much for hosting me. I think it's I like what you guys doing. I believe in it, and I think it's a great thing. I think it's the future, and I think we had that discussion in the past that what you're doing is basically kind of the next I say evolution when it comes to even in venture investment and venture capital. And a little bit about myself. We're actually a new fund. We started 3 years ago, and our aim basically is right now is focused on MENA Growth Fund. And we're looking at investing in late stage growth companies out of MENA, and also invest in our companies that are interested to come to MENA. So that's something we're building actually right now. And also what we do also is we over actually the summer and we got a big opportunity on a big project with the government, and we realized that there's a big opportunity for venture building. So what we've done actually, I always say COVID was good and bad at the same time. And the good part is it actually gave us the opportunity to kind of grow our venture building, and we built our own in-house digital team, and now we're developing 3 companies. So it's been exciting this year. A lot of challenges for us, for everybody else, I'm sure, and for us. And but I think these challenges kind of bring up different opportunities. And as I mentioned, for us, now we're kind of focusing a lot on venture building because there's a lot of kind of opportunity. Also, so maybe some of you guys are familiar, UAE has launched digital economy kind of agenda and strategies. So for us, it's kind of perfect time to contribute and support the ecosystem here, the tech ecosystem here in UAE and the kind of wider region also on the whole strategy of going digital. So that's a bit of what we're doing now. And but personally, I started as an entrepreneur back in 2003, and started kind of traditional businesses, but got into tech around 2005 and 6. The first kind of tech business I was looking to build was an online booking platform, hotels basically. And the reason is I got into hotel business and hospitality business at that time. So worked on running and managing a hotel, and so built a lot of experience when it came to tourism and booking and how kind of Dubai was actually booming at that time, and we saw a big opportunity. But you plan something, but then life plans something else for you. And so but obviously it was the other plan was good too. I got actually headhunted to join the executive office of Dubai, which is the office of His Highness the ruler of Dubai. So it's basically the think tank, I would say the think tank of Dubai. So it's come up with all it's the office actually where a lot of whatever you see today in Dubai is mostly came out of this office basically. Started back in 2000, around the beginning of 2000. I joined, and they asked me to join them. I joined the innovation team back in 2006, and worked on multiple projects regarding to which actually linked to economic development. And also, I mean, tech was part of it too. And then we went on, and actually I had I got a scholarship to go to Harvard, to Kennedy School of Government, but then at the same time, I was told, there is a almost similar school to Kennedy School of Government in Singapore, and it's almost same level, or it's been set up by some of the Kennedy School of Government guys, which is Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. So I decided to go to Singapore, lived this, and I did my master's in public administration. Spent a year and a half in Singapore. It was an amazing experience. Loved the place, and built a great network in Southeast Asia, which was fantastic for me. And it was like first kind of hands-on experience in Asia, especially that I lived most of my life. I mean, spent most of my life between Europe and US, but that was kind of my kind of big experience in Singapore and Southeast Asia. And then after that, set up a company with the executive office. So I helped found an office or a company called the Consulting Office, which was providing management consultancy for the public sector and public sector related entities. So helped set it up. I was CEO for 2 years, and then I was actually again headhunted to join the Dubai Holding as the chief strategy officer. And Dubai Holding, as Mike you mentioned, it's an investment holding office. Many people don't know Dubai Holding, but they know the assets under Dubai Holding. So the most famous global asset or company is Jumeirah Hotels, and so we were the holding company that basically overlooked the Jumeirah group and 6-7 other kind of verticals or companies. And so I spent almost 6 years there, and then once you're an entrepreneur, your hand starts itching, and you want to just get out there and do your own thing, start building your own company. And so I had the choices either to go on and kind of build my own company, or set up a fund and invest in multiple companies and support entrepreneurs to basically create great things. So I decided the second one, and we launched a fund, mainly in US actually. We did different structure of investments. So we did a little bit fund of fund, we did sort of SPVs, we did direct investments. And now we're looking at a larger fund, which is, as I said earlier, more focused on MENA region, and focused on MENA region on growth stage. So basically pre-exit, pre-IPO. So that's kind of our focus right now. And as I mentioned, also venture building is a big thing right now for us. We actually building. We have an in-house team, and we're growing our basically development arm. So we're partnering with one of the largest digital development agencies based out of Japan, and to basically grow our team on a regional basis, so on a MENA basis. So that's a bit about myself, about my work basically.
Amazing. Thanks so much for sharing that, Yousuf. And I guess one question love to hear is what piece of advice like sort of helped you along this journey? Like what was something that kind of you've learned, or like a key takeaway that helped you?
I think one of my favorite is that everything happens for a good reason. So even if it's something bad, regardless of the situation, but it's always a lesson. There's always a lesson to learn from. And actually, there's a lot of lessons I've learned from day one since I came back from college, and I came back to Dubai. I did my undergrad in Los Angeles and LA, as you know. I went to USC, and and at that time when I studied corporate finance, and a lot of people thought I would go into banking and do investment banking, but then I decided to take a harder route basically and be an entrepreneur. And for me, as I said, I mean, every step that I took has been a lesson for me, and especially from the beginning, when you were doing your own business, and there was a lot of mistakes I've done, and but you know, I would say a wise man one day told me, you know, that you know, everything happens for a good reason. So even if it's something bad, and so I live by that actually now, right now. I mean, you know, in business as entrepreneurs, you know, there's a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of kind of challenges you go through life. But if it's not something you learn from, or if something you kind of benefit from, I think that's the aspect you need to kind of look at. There's few
Amazing.
questions now. Yeah, there's a couple of
We have a
questions.
question from Sasha. What was your happiest moment with Dubai Holdings and E11?
Happiest moment. I mean, to start with Dubai Holding, it's actually I was 32 when I was appointed Chief Strategy Officer. So you could imagine the challenge, and being the youngest guy at the sea level in Dubai Holding. I think that was on its own was I think it was a happy moment for me and a challenging moment. Yeah, you know, and I remember when the CEO kind of brought me on board. He's actually been my mentor for a long time, and when he brought me on board and offered me that role, he didn't speak to me for two weeks, and he just wanted to make sure that, you know, I get to know everybody first, and then I sat with him. So when I sat with him, the only thing he told me is like, yeah, Yusuf, listen, you know, you're young, it's a very challenging post, but I trust you. So the minute he said, "I trust you," that was more than enough for me to kind of, you know, show my best and do my, you know, whatever I can to basically, you know. And I think that was the happiest moment for me when I heard that word, you know. And I think it actually affected me a lot, and it helped me on, you know, making sure that uh, you know, I actually excel in whatever I do, you know, and I make sure that, you know, I do my best, because the minute, you know, your CEO kind of shows the trust in you, or the team and the other team members, colleagues trust you, you know, you want to do your best, you know, you give your 200, 300, 400%, you know. So that I think the happiest, kind of one of the happiest kind of moment when it started. And of course, you know, coming up with a strategy and seeing the strategies being kind of developed and achieved, and kind of, you know, see them live in front of you, and you see your projects are live in Dubai. You're like, oh, amazing, you know, like what I mean. There are so many projects I've been involved on, and that I see it today, and I was like, you know, it's amazing to see them, you know, happening basically, not just on paper. You know? So that's, I think, my happiest moment in the whole. E11. I think the journey from day one has been actually. I mean, you know, ups and down. But E11 is a company I started myself with a couple of partners, and I think, you know, the happiest moment, I think, when we got a big project with the government. I think that was the happiest moment, you know. And I think that's from a business perspective, you know. And but I think yet to see another happy moment with just a new company. You know, we started almost 3 years now, and but we landed a big project last year, and we're actually going to go live with that project in January. The project is already live, but it's gonna a soft launch right now. But it's a digital platform, so it's gonna go fully live in January. So I think that's you know, I mean, starting E11 was a whole happy moment for me.
We have a question here from you. What are key success skills or hacks for managing multi-stakeholder environments? How do you get interests aligned and push for things when people might not have the same interest?
How do you get interest aligned and push for things? Yeah, that's a very interesting question. See, I believe like every organization should have, you know, a vision going forward, you know, and that vision basically kind of where it helps and forces everybody to basically align to it, you know. And like, for example, I give you kind of Dubai Holdings vision. You know, the vision of Dubai Holdings is for the good of tomorrow. And so for the good of tomorrow means a lot of things. But one key thing that it means is like it's for the good of Dubai, for the good of people, for the good of the stakeholders and the people working in the company and all the stakeholders kind of involved with the company. So I think uh, having a multi-stakeholder environment is super challenging. I mean, you could imagine someone like me being kind of 32 at the you know, and getting on a big post here, and then having to deal with people from different background, with different agendas, with different kind of, I mean, you know, different plans, and even in life, you know. And how do you get people kind of aligned? And I think it's any leadership should have a vision and for the organization and make sure that this vision is communicated on a regular basis to make sure that everybody is aligned, to understand that, you know, as a company, this is where we're heading, this is what we want to achieve. And you know, we need to do wherever it takes for us to achieve. You need, you know, strategies change, you know, plans change, but I think the ultimate vision of an organization, it's that's the key I would say measure to basically ensure everybody kind of interests align. And one, I think one skill that's required is one key skill for me, for any leader, is basically understanding people. You know, emotional intelligence kind of a key thing. You know, and by understanding people, I mean that, you know, like every person in organization have a different kind of need, different kind of you know, I would say you know, request. But understanding each person to ensure that you know, how to align everybody in order for them to kind of achieve you know, the vision of the company. I'm against micromanaging. I hate micromanaging, and I think that's the worst thing that leadership could have. And because today, when I like today, I hire people, I hire or I bring in a partner on board. I don't bring them to do their job. You know, I bring them to kind of basically do what they're good at, you know, and basically direct them, support them, and see what we could do collectively in order for us to kind of achieve our goal. I think that's kind of another key skill that's required. I think we have some more questions coming up. Okay, Muhammad Samir, your question, how to find that one idea to do a startup. I think I don't know what happened with Michael. I think he maybe lost connection or something. But anyway, I'm gonna go answer the questions here. One thing about, I mean, my view. I mean, I know the word startup sounds kind of, you know, it's kind of the. I mean, it's been the buzzword now for quite some time. You know, especially that, you know, there have been some successful exits, some unicorns out there. But I think one of the key thing to launch a startup is I always my first question to any entrepreneur who comes with the idea, I always ask them actually two questions. One is what are they trying to solve? Is there a challenge that they're looking to solve? And two, have they've done their market research on their idea to see is there similar ideas out there? Is there similar companies are solving the same kind of challenges or issues? And how could you be different? I think we all have ideas. We all have great ideas, but not every idea um, kind of fits the time. Also, timing is a big critical kind of criteria for launching any startup. I mean, you could have the best idea in the world, the market is not ready for it, the idea is not kind of great, then it won't basically kind of you know, basically it won't happen. You know, just kind of die down. So I think timing, doing market research to make sure that, you know, the idea, I mean, who are doing similar things and how could you could do better, and of course what challenges could be solved. Our next question, how do you see E11 growing the new contacts in the Middle East with Dubai and opening up even further? So E11 is actually this is a big opportunity for us at E11. You know, like UAE opening up even further. It's I don't know if you guys know UAE. I think it's Komradov, if I pronounce your name right.
Yes, yes, Kumar Dev, and yeah, I'm very well aware of what is going on in the Middle East now.
Yeah, Kumar, okay, great. Yeah, so I think there's opportunities in every kind of let's say economic situation. And today, what's happening in Middle East and in Dubai and specifically in UAE in general. For us as E11, as I said, we have two arms. We have we're building a growth fund, and we have a venture building basically arm right now. And in the venture building, I mean, we based on our experience as partners, we know how the government works. We know how the kind of ecosystem kind of works here. So for us, actually gives us a big opportunity to kind of work with some of the stakeholders on the kind of the digital economy strategy and agenda. So for us, it's a kind of a great opportunity. It's a big opportunity, for us. And I'm so happy, actually. I mean, of course, most of you know that recently UAE and Israel kind of signed the Abrahamic Accord. And with actually this gave us a lot of opportunity even to look at some talents and tech that's available in Israel, where we could work with them on kind of developing, further on, let's say, similar technology, bring them to Dubai or bring them to UAE, and also use UAE as a launching pad for other regions. Because I mean, as some of you know, like Singapore is always is like a launching pad for companies to Southeast Asia in a way. So Dubai is also kind of or UAE is kind of a launching pad for companies, whether it's MENA, across MENA, GCC, or even now Africa. So Africa is becoming kind of another market where you can expand through UAE. Whether Dubai or Abu Dhabi, wherever kind of city that you think it fits your business. So I think it's a big opportunity for us right now. Sorry, Michael.
Thanks. Just wondering, how has Dubai managed to establish this like global presence, and how's it managed to build such a strong name and reputation?
I think first, as I said in the beginning, a vision and a leadership. That's the key thing. I think Dubai, I'll take Dubai, and then actually let me start from UAE level as a country. The forefathers of UAE, when they started, they had the vision of creating a country, and actually creating, I would say, not just a country, just create a platform for people to prosper. Whether they're Emiratis or non-Emiratis, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's a famous interview for UAE's forefather, rest in peace, Sheikh Zayed, where he said, when one of the businessmen actually asked him, it's like, UAE is growing and other people are benefiting from UAE and blah, blah, blah. And then he replied back to him, it's like, yeah, but this is wealth that's created for UAE to you by God, and God doesn't tell you, okay, this wealth is only this is for everybody. This land's for everybody to prosper and how. So the vision has always been there for UAE to kind of, be the land of opportunity and be the land, for people to succeed, and not just, as I said, as Emiratis, but as everyone who wants to kind of consider UAE as a home. So this has always been a vision of UAE. But then, how did UAE reach today where it is today, and where Dubai, Abu Dhabi kind of reached to where it's the vision of of the leadership. So if we take the example of Dubai and taking and my experience working in the executive office, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai, he had a vision of turning Dubai to be a global city. And when you have that kind of, and he always had that, okay, Europe, US, they are so many years ahead of us, and if we want to kind of be at par, we need to kind of speed up our development. You need to go faster than how they're developing so we can catch up with them. So that was kind of the key, I would say, metrics that was used, and then of course, looking around to see which small city states are or similar to UAE had been developed. And of course, Singapore is a good example. I remember we looking at Singapore, as benchmark some of what they do. We looked at the Hong Kong, how they developed, so the key thing, as I said, that the ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, at that time, he had a vision for Dubai. He wanted Dubai to be a global city. He wanted to be, the center of commerce and on a global perspective. compete with London, compete with New York, compete with like Paris and kind of the global city and be the hub. And that vision actually translated to the UAE level. So today, even UAE is at that level today. Like if you look at all like the rankings, the competitive or the competitiveness reports, you say UAE, of course, it's the top country in the Middle East, but MENA is not a measure for us anymore. It's we're looking at more from a global perspective. So I think it's, as I said, it's the vision and the leadership. I always say to my Singaporean friends, one of the main common dominators we have is that we had the vision, we had a leader, we had great leaders with a vision, and that's what made us successful today. Being as UAE and Singapore.
Amazing. And do you think like a visionary leader is something that can be developed, or do you think it's something that is innate? Is it something that comes with experience? Like, what is like vision to you?
I mean, it actually comes with the desire to do good. I believe, and I think it's a desire to kind of be the best. I think I always compare entrepreneurs and leaders to athletes. And athletes, they always strive to be the best. I mean, top athletes more. I don't know if you've watched The Last Dance, or watched Ali. Now is my two favorite kind of shows. And you see, Michael Jordan or Muhammad Ali, or even like Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, one of my favorite athletes. These individuals were driven by success. They want to kind of, I mean, and if you see their success is not selfish success. Their success was very team-driven success. And they had a vision. And they had a vision to kind of be the best players, the best team, and win championship. And I think it's a mixture. It's something you either it's the environment that you would grow up in can affect a person, or you could be. I think it's also sometimes could be genetic, because you could have other brothers and sisters or like same family, same mother, father, whatever, but you see you're the only one who's like so driven comparing to other, and I think it's somewhere in the genes where it kind of that gene kind of came to you instead of the others. So I think it's a mix. It's either the environment you're born in and you're given the opportunity, or for example a challenge you've been in your life at early stage, and you want to kind of prove that you could achieve it, and then you create a vision for yourself. You create a vision for your country. You create a vision for your team, for your company. In order for you to kind of achieve that vision. So I think it's a mixture between could be taught and could be based on the environment the person lives in.
Amazing, thanks for sharing that. So we have a question here from you. Can you share with us your perspective regarding the blockchain industry, where you see tokens add value to the economy, to the government, to society?
Yeah, I think before that there was another question from John, if you don't mind, answer that one. It says, what do you consider to be your biggest failure to date, and what has it taught you? That's a very tough question. I think tough question because not because I've been successful, blah blah blah, but no, it's actually a tough question because like my best friends, they tell me you always complain. You're a big complainer, and I tell them yes, I do, because I'm a perfectionist. I like things to be perfect. Maybe, and especially when it comes to work and it comes to business. And for me, like even a small kind of mistake is in work is a failure. So that's why it's a tough question to answer. But I mean, to think from a business perspective, I mean, there's a couple of things like when I was in like, for example, in Dubai Holding, that I was I wanted to kind of there's a couple of strategies or projects that I wanted to kind of develop, but it unfortunately failed, and failed not because I mean, okay, of course, maybe some blame, I take the blame on the execution of the project, but also the environment that I was in, that kind of affected these failure. I think so. That's one, and also, yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, as I said, I mean, for me, it's like I like to do things on a kind of I like things to be perfect, when it comes to work. So that's why for me, like, failure is like, if anything doesn't go according to plan, for me is a failure. So I think I'll leave it there. But I mean, as I said, everything has a lesson, is a lesson. Every step you take in life is kind of a lesson that we learn from it. Okay, so the blockchain question. Yeah. I believe a lot in blockchain. I think it's the future. I think it's where I think if we look at I think the adaptation of it, it's slower than expected, which is fine. I mean, it took how many years for I think what was it, 40, 50 years for internet to be to be kind of mainstream and can be adopted by everyone. And I think blockchain is going through the same phase, but I think it's going to be much less time than that for sure. I'm actually a big supporter of blockchain. I started my first my first blockchain project was in 2016, and we were looking at developing a full real estate development project on a blockchain. So from the minute from the minute the plans are signed off, all the way to a unit or a property has been sold. So that was my first blockchain project. So yeah, I'm big on blockchain. I think it's going to be hopefully I mean, it's the future for sure. And token economy, I think it's been. I believe that token economy was always there, but now with digitalization, it's gonna kind of go to the next level. And I always give an example of token economy as so here we have something called Co-op, which is a supermarket, and launched. It's a union co-op, it's called. So it's launched many years ago, and the way it's launched is that they offered shares and to basically the public, the normal people, everybody, and you can buy and sell even till today the shares. But the way it works, the mechanism is interesting, and it's like the value of these shares depends on how much. I mean, of course, it has certain kind of market value based on demand and supply, but also kind of it uses, like, for example, if I own shares, I get paid dividends every year, a basic dividend plus how much I spent at that supermarket. So for me, it's in a way it's similar to, it is token economy, but traditional token economy. But I think now with digitalization, it's gonna kind of accelerate the token economy, and I believe in it, and I think it's the future, and I think it's the future because, okay, maybe this is, I haven't told Michael this before, but it's actually it's, for me, it's linked to social capitalism, and I'm a big believer in social capitalism, by the way. And I think socialism and capitalism on their own, I think, in my view, I could be wrong, but they failed in a way. And I think combining them together right now is where the future would be. And that's where I think biggest opportunity for token economy would be, in my view.
Amazing. We have a question from Kate. Could you share your vision on what type of startups attract investment by E11 Capital these days, especially in the light of GITEX? Which ones are the most interesting?
Okay, let me just read the question. Actually, there's a comment from Matthias also. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Being a picky person and complains the best, the best for improving and making change. Totally agree. Kate, thanks for talking. Could you share your vision on what type of startups track investment by ECAP these days, which is the item tactics, which ones are most interesting? Okay. Okay, let's say I don't attend GITEX, by the way. I mean, I just wanted, it was, I'm maintaining my social distancing, to be honest. And so I avoided GITEX, but so I had a few friends who attended, and I got some insight about some companies. But what attracts the type of actually, so E11 Cap right now is focused on, as I said, late stage growth fund, and one of the so we have basically our strategy is focused on three things. One is we're looking at MENA growth startups. So startups Series C and above, pre-exit, pre-IPO. And I think the biggest opportunity is for us right now is two things, actually. And as we kind of preparing ourselves to develop our growth fund, NASDAQ Dubai announced listing for SME. So for us, this is a kind of huge opportunity. So now for us, like, we're looking at, so hopefully we kind of have our first close in the first quarter next year and start deploying and preparing company to be listed at NASDAQ SME or NASDAQ Dubai. So that's a big opportunity. So that's one type of startups that attract us. We're industry agnostic because the experience we bring, because we plan to be active investors. So the experience we're going to bring on board is purely focused on business strategy, market expansion, and also from a technical perspective. As I mentioned earlier, we have a in-house technical team. We have 25 people, and now we're joining forces with one of the largest digital agencies also in the world, where we're going to have access to 1,200 developers and engineers within our platform. So which is, for us, these are kind of the thing we bring on the table. So other type of companies we're looking at is startups from different regions from around the world who are interested to expand in MENA, and we want to work with them to see how we can expand their operation in MENA. So deploy some money, deploy some strategic kind of support from a technical and managerial kind of stuff, or go-to-market kind of strategy. And biggest opportunity now, I think, is the consolidation of different startups in specific sectors in the region here, and I think this is a big opportunity, and that's another kind of the investments that we're looking at right now. What motivates you to perform every single day? Nice question, Mohammed. Two things, actually. First, I think I have, when you start young, you achieve a lot of things at a young age, and then you reach at my age, and then you're like, okay, what do I need to do now? And so there's two things that actually motivates me right now, and that's where I managed to answer the question of what I need to do now. And the first thing is that one of the key things that motivates me is like I want to continue like building the tech ecosystem in UAE. Yes, I do have my business side. I do a lot of stuff, from a business perspective, or building my own company and stuff like that, and fund. But I do a lot of other non-business activities. So I work with the government. I advise on economic development. I support some entrepreneurs. I mentor them. So that's building the ecosystem, the tech entrepreneurs ecosystem in UAE is the biggest motivation for me, and I want to see that kind of grow. And I want to see, honestly, the first Emirati tech entrepreneur who basically reach a unicorn, or we call it a unicamel, I would say, in this region. So that's kind of my biggest motivation right now. And so that the second part, or the second thing, is I have young kids, and my goal is to build something for them, to leave a legacy basically for them. So that's basically my two things that motivate me. I want people to remember me one day, Yousuf, the one who basically, took the startup ecosystem in UAE to the next level. So that's kind of, and I want my kids to kind of remember that also. So that's my biggest motivation every day. Next question: how do you VC? How do you
Next question from Yanis. How do you value the potential of venture capital from the Middle East compared to, for example, the value of Europe for local and international startups?
I don't understand the question properly. Evaluate. So what do you mean, like potential VCs? Yanis, if you can just elaborate, maybe Yanis can elaborate a little bit more on the question. Because, you know, I mean, every VC has their own kind of strategy, their own plan and stuff like that. So let me go answer John's question. Are there specific industries that you're looking at when it comes to? No, we're actually not sector agnostic right now for the fund. So we're not focusing on any industry.
Amazing. And I guess going back to what you mentioned before, like what did you do to kind of move on from these low points, or like, for instance, things which didn't kind of work how you had like anticipated or expected? Like, what was your approach there?
So I mean, it's like, yeah, these small points, I call them obstacles, you know, and I have a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine. We always sit down and we talk about, you know, whatever problems we have, and we kind of advise each other and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm sure everyone needs that friend who, you know, you sit down and talk and throw a lot of shit on them, and they come back to you and tell you what to do. So I always tell them, you know, life you always face with obstacles, but the key thing is that how you go about these obstacles. And I used an example of I don't know if some of the listeners they enjoy Spartan race or obstacle races. I enjoy obstacle races. I do a lot of Spartan races, but this year with COVID, we couldn't do any, but unfortunately. And I always tell them, like, you know, when you run a 10K, 20K, 30K, or whatever race with obstacles, each obstacle has its own way of kind of overcoming. You know, whether you need to crawl, whether you need to jump, whether you need to kind of go between the, you know, little tires, wheels, or you have to climb up and stuff like that. So every obstacle has its own way of of overcoming, you know. But the key thing is making sure that you kind of minimize your energy and be more efficient about it, because you don't want to kind of kill yourself on an obstacle, and then you end up losing, you kind of consuming all your energy, and you're not ready for the next challenge, or not ready to grow, or the next phase of a business, or you know, whatever you face in life. And one thing I told my friend is, don't go head to head with an obstacle, because then you're just gonna break your head, you know, not achieving anything. So obstacles in life have, you know, their own way of going around. So each needs to kind of be dealt with, and think of the moment now, you know, without forgetting the big plan. So it's always, you know, like looking at now, but keeping the vision what your overall bigger plan is. You know, we all face obstacles. I mean, this year, I'm sure everybody went through hell with COVID and the crisis and the pandemic, you know, that you know, hit the world. But the key thing, like for me, you know, I'm not telling you that, you know, we did great this year. No, we went through a lot of, excuse my language, but we went through a lot of shit this year, you know, like everybody else, you know. And I think it's the long-term vision that I have in mind that kept me going, you know, kept me kind of, yes, okay, I'm today I have a problem, but doesn't mean that life is over. You know, I need to kind of push to achieve the biggest goal. So every obstacle has its own way to overcome. It just needs to be smart about it. Don't you know, don't kill yourself overcoming these obstacles.
Amazing. We have a few more minutes left. Question from Yip. What is your definition of strategy? Do you have an analogy for a good strategist? And what's the role of culture in contrast to strategy?
Strategy. What's the role of culture? Culture is the most important part of strategy. I mean, I'm sure everybody heard the saying of of culture eats strategy for breakfast. So, and I believe that a lot, and one thing let me first actually go with the definition of what strategy is. So strategy is basically the action that you take to achieve your goals. So these are strategy for me. And of course, goals are divided into, is linked to the vision of whatever you kind of want to achieve. So it's the vision, set up objectives and goals, and then the action that you basically build in order for you to achieve these objectives and in order for you to reach the end goal is basically, for me, that's what strategy is all about. I know there's a lot of different definitions of strategy. I'm sure everybody kind of have their own way, but for me, a strategy is basically action that you take in order for you to achieve your goals and achieve the overall vision. And as I said, culture is very important. Culture, having the right team on board, and as they say, when you are a leader, when you are a CEO, when you took over a company, or when you're building a company as a startup, it's basically you're a bus driver, and you basically want to make sure that every seat on that bus is given for the right person, that can believe in the culture, believe in the goal of the company, believe in the idea, and have the right mindset in order for you to kind of take this bus forward. It's like or a ship, so you want to make sure all the crew that you bring on the ship are the right crew that will help you achieve your goals. So that's why culture is very, very important. I mean, you can write beautiful strategies on paper, hang it on the wall, we can frame it, you can do whatever, but if you don't have the right team culture, strategies will never be achieved. And I remember one of my favorite actually interviews or quotes by Steve Jobs. And I think one of his last interviews, he's like, if it wasn't for my A team, I wouldn't have achieved what I achieved. So it is the A team that's required in order for you to achieve a strategy.
Amazing. And love to, if you could touch a bit more on what you mentioned earlier about socialism and capitalism, how those can work well together.
Sorry, say that again.
You mentioned about socialism and capitalism, how they fit really nicely together.
Yeah. I mean, I think with token economy that can be achieved, and I give you a very, very simple example. So okay, in Dubai there is one men's barber shop, and there's one right next to my house, and I always go and speak to the guys who work there, and sometimes when I'm in a hurry, I just go quickly for a quick shave and there. And then I realized that shop is actually a branch of another 20 shops, similar companies. So the guy basically owns 20 other shops. And then I realized that 20 shop is like almost in every community mall and every like shopping mall. And it's kind of one of the largest one. And then I was like, I was thinking one day, I was like, okay, the barbers in the shop, they get kind of minimum salary and then they get bonus every year and stuff like that. And hopefully one day, this idea I have is maybe a bit crazy, but which for me, it's a link between social and capitalism, is why not buy this company, this barbershop, tokenize the whole business, and give each barber a token where they receive a basic salary plus some tokens, and this way you basically achieve two things. You're creating a company which is a financially driven company, which is capitalism basically. At the same time you're enhancing the life of the barber who just is dependent on the salary, where now he has a token which is gives an opportunity to trade these tokens and make more money. So you actually achieved a bigger kind of objectives and goal. So that's kind of where I see socialism and capitalism basically merging, and I think with token economy that's where the biggest opportunity is.
Amazing. So we have a question here. what in your experience is an effective way to keep teams on track or hold crew members accountable?
Hold crew members accountable is actually by experience, by example. So I mean, if I'm leading a team, if I make a mistake, I need to be also accountable for whatever I'm doing. So that actually gives us incentivize others also to, if they make a mistakes in the team, and team members who make mistakes also be, if they see the leaders being accountable for mistakes, they'll also be accountable for whatever they do. I think that's the key thing. And keeping teams on track, I think it's all, as I said, it's always important to kind of keep reminding the team of the ultimate goal that we want to achieve. Give them kind of sense of course, security, sense of kind of the longer plan goal that you have. So that's what's gonna keep them basically I think the best way to keep them on track, and also praising them. Praising them for the great jobs that they've done. Okay, we always get blamed for mistakes, but hardly we get praise for the good things we do. And I think it does for to manage team members. That's one of the important kind of points, or kind of important, skills or effective way for us to kind of make sure that everybody stays on track.
Amazing. I guess we have like 2 minutes left. Is there anything that maybe you'd like to add in terms of like?
I like. There's a comment here which is very interesting from Shabistan Khan. Yousuf, you remind me of Prophet Yousuf. He too was economics and strategist. I don't know if you guys know Prophet Yousuf, but you're actually right. He's actually one of the guys I look up to, and I always I read a lot about his stories and see how he actually there's one interesting thing which he did was when it's a very quick story that when I think the king of Egypt at that time had a dream about 7 cows eating this 7 small thin cows eating big 7 fat cows or something like that. And the story that just behind it is that he is like the economy is going to go through like a prosperity and growth for 7 years, and after that 7 years there will be drought. So we need to kind of save, and we need to kind of prepare for the drought. So that's kind of strategic thinking, and also it's one strategic thinking, and a lot of people don't realize that if you read the story further, if someone is interested or investigate it further, that actually even kind of put a plan, kind of strategize the whole logistics system on how to prepare for and scenario planning basically. So that's where Prophet Yusuf was like his story was famous for that, being a scenario, building a scenario behind a dream, and how to build a strategy to make sure the economy or the economy at that time in Egypt stays prosper, and people don't go through starvation during the drought season and stuff like that. So.
And I guess maybe one final question, like continue on from what Sasha mentioned earlier. What is happiness to you?
Happiness. I think, yeah, see, for me personally, happiness is spending time with my family, spending quality time with family, my brothers, my sister, my parents, my kids, my wife, and also some of my like very, very close friends. And I think that's like my happy I think happy time, or what makes me happy basically. Yeah, that's you life, you become successful, you do good business, you make money, you do whatever and stuff like that, but end of the day, if you cannot enjoy success, you cannot enjoy that with your close ones, friends, family, I think it's worthless. Success is worthless if you can't enjoy it with everyone around you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Yousuf, for your time and your insights, and I'm sure everyone is super appreciative here. I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone. It's a pleasure, Mike. Again, thank you very much.
Sorry, Yousuf. Thank you very much for this good overview here about the scene in the UAE. Just one final question. Do you have any recommendations in terms of events, even if it's virtual now in COVID times, where everyone comes together? Any recommendation in Dubai?
Yanis, of course, this year is over now. I mean, GITEX was the last event of the year, I think, when it comes. I mean, I'm talking specifically tech. There was a blockchain also event, which was also with the GITEX, but I can't remember off my head right now. But if I remember, I'll share it with Michael, and maybe can share it with the community and everyone else.
Okay.
I think Michael, a few of the guys asked for my email. Feel free to share it. I'm fine. So if any other questions or any kind of advice, I'm happy to support wherever it's needed.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone. Thank you for having me. Enjoy your day, night, evening, wherever you are, and the weekend.